Hi, Mr. Wilson and Tim. We meet again for another fireside chat. First of all, happy Father's Day. And since you're both fathers and run a business as a father-son duo, I thought we could do a Father's Day special. All right, so our first question, do you want to tell us just a little bit about your father?
I was 5.5 when he died, so I don't remember much. Very important, very wonderful man. Everybody had nothing but greatest things to say about him. He was a terrific man.
Was he strong?
Very strong. My dad could lift the front up of a car. He was just so strong. I was told that nobody could believe how strong he was.
Do you have any other memories?
There was one incident that was very interesting. My father used to have schnapps for dinner. He'd take a drink of schnapps, And I can remember sitting on his lap, and I kept asking, I want. And he gave me a drink, and it was so awful. That's all I remember. It was awful.
You never drank schnapps after that?
No, I didn't drink schnapps.
What did he do for a living?
Well, he had a very interesting career because he ran away from home in Canada when he was 15, but he worked on the railroads, and he became an engineer in the shops. Very bright man. When his funeral occurred, I do remember that as a boy. It was huge. There was cars all over the place. It was one of the biggest funerals in Salt Lake. He was very well liked because he'd been in his business and built up. Unfortunately, he died in February 1930. Depression had hit in 29, the fall, and all of that businesses that he developed went down the tubes. So,
how did his passing at such a young age kind of influence you and your brother?
Well, it meant that my brother at 9 years old, who just turned 9 years at Christmas, was the head of the family. He and myself and my mother, she was wonderful. She really was an incredible woman. Ernie was head of the family.
And he had to work like 3 jobs.
Yeah.
So did he have to discipline you, being a father?
No, he never disciplined me. My mother took care of all of that. My mother was in charge, period, of both of us. Mother could look at us in 10 yards, and with a one look, she could freeze us. So that was it. One look, boom.
Mr. Wilson, how are you as a father?
Yeah, how were you as a father?
As a father,
Yeah.
I was perfect.
There you go.
We have it.
I have nothing to add to that.
Do you have any advice for new fathers?
For new fathers, well, you have a major obligation when you have a child, and you want to see what you could do. We did, both my wife and I. We had a lot of discussions on how to do things. It was very important to us that our children have the very best, because I particularly hadn't had all the things because I didn't have a father. So I felt it was important that I play a role.
And how do you think you did?
I have 2 wonderful children, really. And they really, I think they grew into some special people. Even Tim.
And Tim, what do you remember about your dad growing up?
The roles back then in the 60s were you were the breadwinner.
That's right.
So you were out there. So mom was really more the disciplinarian.
Yeah, to a large degree.
But I always remember the fact that dinner was always set around dad coming home. And dad would always come home around 7. And then mom would have the dinner for him. And we all waited for, so I remember, I don't know if you remember, dinner was always family time.
Right.
And then my favorite experience is on special occasions, my dad would make waffles. Remember that? And he had this waffle iron that's probably from 1920.
Maybe 24.
And it was always really amazing waking up to the smell of waffles in the morning.
Good.
When Dad could take time we did Indian Guides together.
Yes,
Now,
we did.
Now, Indian Guides has changed now, but in the old days, it was called Indian Guides. It was by the YMCA, and it was sort of like Cub Scouts, but it was more of father-son bonding,
Right.
Neighborhood kids from the elementary school. And Dad was Big Cloud, and I was Little Cloud. Remember
Right.
that?
Right. We would go out, in the winter particularly, it was terrific.
Go out to the
We'd go out to the snow and it was wonderful.
Is there more to the Little Cloud, Big Cloud nicknames?
I don't even know how we got those names. No clue.
Based on what you know about your grandfather, do you see any qualities like that in your dad?
You just got that magnetic personality that everyone loves. So we used to always kid that whenever we'd go on a trip, Dad would always just meet random people and just start talking to them. And they would become like our best friends. And it was always a joke of who was the craziest person Dad was ever going to meet, because he would inevitably meet someone.
That's awesome. Who was the craziest person?
Oh, so many languages. We had people we didn't even know. We couldn't even understand. And Dad was talking to them and just, doing his thing.
I mean, you guys have such a unique experience getting to work together. How is that as a father and son duo?
Well, the interesting thing is, Tim came to me, he went to Berkeley and he was thinking of getting a master's degree or something. He asked me, he said, what do you think? I'd like, I'm interested in business now. I said, well, if I were you, really, I would become an accountant. That's the first time my son ever listened to me. And so that's what he did. He went out and he became a certified accountant. So he came into the business, and he really spent that part with my brother. My brother was tough, very tough, but smart. And I think Tim will tell you that he learned a lot from Ernie.
Oh yeah, he was very tough. I mean, it was not the easy course, but it was the best course.
How do you guys feel that being kind of a father-son and family-run company influences how the company runs? And do you guys feel like it has strong ties throughout the entire organization?
Well, I do know that in my life when I was young, Dad never disciplined me. He left it to my mom. Mm-hmm. So I knew that later on when I started working with him, I could get away with hell.
Not true. No, I'll tell you, I think because it's a family company, we really feel that our employees are part of our family. And we have a different attitude than a lot of public companies where it's all, how much can you make for the shareholders?
No, I think that's true. I think you've always told us that it's not about chasing the dollar. It's about more of the effect on the community, the ripple effect of the community, right?
Well, now that we near the end of our time today, Mr. Wilson, is there anything that you'd like to say to all the fathers at Earnest for Father's Day?
Well, just that when you're a father, you have a big duty. Just remember that. It's an obligation that's there. You just can't avoid it, because otherwise you shouldn't be a father. And if you're going to be a father, you got to do your best to help and realize that those children don't think the same way as you do. Each one of us are different, and your children are both different, and you're that. But you got to help them to try to get them to develop as best they can, and that's what we've tried to do. Is that right, Tim?
You're going to pay me my allowance?
No, you're paying me.
Well, thank you both for hanging out with me again this afternoon. We'll talk again soon and hope you have a wonderful Father's Day.